What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing, man? Hey, so I'm surfing the web like I normally do, and I came across a video that's crazy. It's on a page that's dedicated to having cell phone videos, contraband cell phone videos from inmates inside of the prison systems. And I'm going to try to dissect to y'all what's going on in this particular video. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Yes. That's yours.
Everything he got is mine. He's a thief, but he's a hoe now. So come on. Don't give nothing else. You won't be paid. I'm telling you. Give me anything like that, you won't be paid.
That's yours.
Yeah, what we saw on that video looked like some guy had just caught a thief who was given an option, and the guy was probably given an option of either we're going to fight about this, where he could possibly lose his life or a limb or something like that, or you could repay this infraction by working it off, doing sexual favors, and I'm pimping you. And it looks like he chose that path of least resistance, so to speak. Now, unfortunately, this is a reality that happens in prison. Now, sexual assaults and rapes, you know what I mean, and those type of things, they do happen in prison, but they don't happen as often as people believe. Usually, people who fall victim to those type of situations are people that go in debt, people that refuse to stand up for themselves, or they go seek out someone for protection, you know, different things like that, and then they end up becoming victimized and possibly trafficked. You know, when I was in the prison system, there was a guy that told me that just basically said that you know, what you do and what you don't do in a facility, whether you be an officer or an inmate, it definitely means everything, and that is absolutely 100% the truth. When I was a correction officer, there was a man that was in there, and you know, he was a convict. He had been there for a while, but his nephew came through, and his nephew ended up being placed in the same compound as him, and through manipulation and, you know, writing kites and different things like that, they ended up being put on the same yard. They weren't in the same housing unit, but they were on the same yard. And while being on the same yard, you know, they had access to each other during rec time and different stuff like that. And you know, the uncle was able to look out for the nephew and make sure that he was straight. But the nephew ended up getting into a situation, and this happened for a few months, but the nephew, you know, being a younger dude, ended up getting into a situation where he was, you know, he was getting caught up with other groups, to the point to where his uncle couldn't really influence the protection that he needed in order to keep him alive, so to speak. So the uncle ended up pimping out his own nephew, man. Long story short, and you know, this is something that I didn't watch. I wasn't around when the whole thing was going, when it was building up to it. I got to the institution when it was discovered that he was being pimped out, and it was one of the craziest things that I had seen when I first got to the prison system. Like, how can this dude do this to his own flesh and blood? But you know, the uncle didn't really, he'd been locked up for so long that he didn't even know his nephew. He just knew it was his sister's son. And, you know, he didn't really have a loyalty to his kinfolk like you would if you were on the outside. So, you know, in order to keep himself safe, he did self-preservation and basically pimped out his nephew. But it was a crazy thing, and it's something I ain't gonna never forget. But like I said, these things do happen, and prison is a world where the craziest things happen in there, man. Things that you would never believe, and this is just an example of something like that. It would be in your best interest to stay out of there, because unless you've been in there, either as an officer or an inmate, this is nothing. The crazy things that happen in there, you wouldn't even believe it. But you know, as technology continues to be more readily accessible, whether legally or illegally, things like this happen to be exposed. And if I catch on to them, I'm gonna put them out there and try to explain them to y'all. So other than that, may y'all train hard, train often, train properly, and train safely. Peace.